Good evening. It's me, your Lyft driver. What's that? You want to go to Burger King? Sorry. No can do. I'll take you to KFC instead. It's spring! The sun is out, birds are singing, flowers are blooming. On days like these, kids like you should be watching the seasonal anime Roundup. I mean, this is 2 springs in a row that have been stacked. Last year's spring was stacked, this year's spring is also stacked. So much good shit this season, some misses too, but overall, some really good stuff. It also occurred to me that I haven't been explaining that I don't cover, big shonen stuff that, basically my favorite shows, like the long-running shonen stuff. So, last season we didn't talk about My Hero Season 6 or Tokyo Revengers. And, this season, we're not going to be talking about Dr. Stone or about Demon Slayer. So, we're just going to do all the seasonal stuff that was, new or sequel or just, overall not my favorite stuff, essentially. So, and next season we won't be talking about Bleach, we're not talking about Eden Zero or Jujutsu Kaisen, anything like that. That's how it goes. So, everything other than that is fair game. It doesn't matter if it gets super popular. We're not specifically trying to look at underappreciated shows. If it took off, if it's a new thing that took off, that still counts. Which brings me to contestant number 1. Oshinoko. So you don't have to be a genius to figure out that this one was going to take off. So I've been reading Oshinoko for about a year, and when it got announced, it was like, whew, this one's going to go hard. And sure enough, it really did. It really elevated the manga. This is on the same level of Demon Slayer, of, elevating the source material. I'm very hit or miss. I'm very, mixed feelings about the Oshinoko manga, but the anime fucking rules, man. It really does. That first, hour and a half long fucking first episode is a genuine masterpiece. It's fucking incredible. The setup is brilliant, right? Oshinoko is really about its premise and its setup, right? That's what really draws people in, and it gets them hooked. So that really, no matter what comes after that, we're cool. We're on the train, right? Choo choo. We're going. We want to see what happens. And just the characters being as interesting and fun as they are really help carry it through a lot of boring monologues. It's interesting if you're curious. They address a lot of things the status, how influencers can affect the online sphere, and how actors can be portrayed and framed in different ways by the cast and the people who direct TV shows, how how tough it is to be an idol in Japan, how it's a relentless business, and fans' perception of you can always change. Again, if you're interested, then it's cool, right? Those monologues will actually bring something to the table. But other than that, it's just it feels a lot less slow. It feels a lot more eventful in the anime than compared to the manga. It's really well done. The visuals are beautiful. It's just awesome. It's the anime is great. I love the voice cast too. It's fucking immaculate. So just all around good stuff. I don't really feel like I need to bring the discussion up of it's so thought provoking. If you think about Ai and her upbringing, and she was she never felt real love before, so she tried to go off and find someone to fall in love with, ended up with kids, the whole 9 yards, and but it's so interesting how she was also involved in the entertainment industry where she had to lie and pretend to be perfect when she's really this clumsy airhead, whatever. You can go find a thread on Twitter if you really want to know about that. All I can tell you is this anime is really good. Season 2 just finished the day I'm recording this, so Season 2 just got announced as well. The one thing I will say before I move on, Oshinoko has a really bad habit of setting up the murder mystery. It's Aqua's we gotta find our dad. Where the fuck is dad? He fucking left to get cigarettes, never came back. They never make much progress on that front. like almost never, you know, like it's very, very slow. And like they go through Aqua especially goes through a lot of trials and tribulations. Like, you know, he went through with Love Now just to figure out a little hint or like he just wanted anything that could have related to Ai's past and her love life, but got basically nothing, and was like, well, maybe if you go to this theater you'll find something. And then it's like they're gonna spend all of next season on that, and it's gonna come up empty again. Spoilers. But it's frustrating. Like, I wanted more progress. Like, we didn't have to solve the man's identity right away. They could have done better with the murder mystery, but really, when you boil it down, Oshinoko is really about the entertainment industry as a whole. It's like a what would you call it? Like a fucking an inside look on like what it's like to be in the entertainment industry in the modern era. So that part of it is fine. Like, you know, it's not, the murder mystery is just part of the draw, right? Like, you want to know what happened, add some suspense to it, but really it's all about getting to know the characters, seeing their trials and tribulations, and seeing them grow, and learning how to survive in the entertainment industry. That's what it's really about. So I can forgive it, I guess. Cool. It's great though. It's really good. Moving on. Okay, Jigokuraku, Hell's Paradise. It's good, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not good, because Mappa does some fantastic shit. It's just weird in a lot of spots, but you know, I think that's part of it. You know, like that's in your, you know, when you talk about Hell's Paradise, there's some amount of weirdness that comes with that conversation. Well, I mean, like in terms of the actual anime, like the fucking narrative itself, like the Tensen. Oh, I'm a genius. The Tensen guys and the weird ass monsters, they serve as decent foils for a bunch of different characters to grow, and you know, we get a good look at a lot of different characters' backstories and how they were raised in this like historical fiction world. It's cool though. Actually, a lot of the backstories were pretty damn compelling, surprisingly enough, and led to really cool moments of development for characters who, man, even if I was really giving it my all and paying attention, I probably still wouldn't remember their names. You know, like it's just, there's a lot of characters, and not a lot of them get as much screen time as they need for me to remember their names. It's fine, like, because what they do go through is good, but obviously the main focus is Gabi, Sagiri, and the rest of the group, with Yuzuriha and fucking Senta? Whatever. I don't remember. But it's cool. Like, they slowly, they piece by piece, they put together the mystery of the island as a whole and realize what the Tensen are, and fight. There's a lot of cool fight scenes. I really like a lot of the fight scenes in Hell's Paradise. They're very good. Really smoothly animated. Gabimaru is always a joy to watch fight. He's a great character too. I think he's a really cool lead. I mean, like, how much more empathetic as a character can you be than, man, I just want to see my wife. You know what I mean? Like, just do whatever you want. Like, I'll fight whoever you want me to fight, as long as I get to see my wife at the end of this shit. Like, Jesus. Yeah, and all the rest of the characters, I think, add something to the story. I think Sagiri's a bit underwhelming. I don't particularly like the development of, like, when you look at her backstory, it's mostly just, oh, well, you can't be a samurai, you're a woman. It's like, isn't this played out already? Like, she can be a samurai, just shut the fuck up, we get it. It's fine. Jesus. Like, I get it's at some period long in the past, and that was definitely a thing back then, but I don't know, I feel like it's kind of played out. And if you're gonna go for like the fantasy route, just like let women be cool, you know? Like, Yuzuri has plenty cool too. It's just like, and Sagiri's fine, like she's very strong. It's just, I don't like that. Aside from that, actually, Saori's arc of, like, you know, she's finding a balance between, like, is it fine for me to kill these people versus these people have committed unbelievable crimes? Like, trying to find that balance, which Gabi has achieved. That's cool. I like that part of it, but overall, like, it's pretty weird. It's kind of hit or miss for me. Like, I do enjoy watching it every week. I think the Tensen are very cool foils for all the characters, but at the same time they're kind of like just too strong, so they kind of just make for this like near unbeat, like it just kind of feels hopeless whenever they fight a Tencent, you know, like until Gabi learned how to do the whatchamacallit with the life force or whatever. I couldn't get fully into it, you know, fully invested. I wanted to be more into it than I was. Like I said, the visuals were great and the fight scenes are cool, so if you're into that, you'll like it. Okay, my love story with Yamada at level 999. I don't know why we can never hit level 1000, but whatever. This one's alright. I really didn't hate this one. I wasn't like, this isn't one of my favorite rom-coms or anything like that, but at the same time, I did think it was pretty fun. It was very cute. It's basically just like, girl breaks up with, boyfriend dumps a girl who's the main character. The girl's the main character, not the boyfriend. But like, guy dumps girl, immediately starts dating someone else. Guy dumps girl because he was into someone else. Yeah. Am I out of focus? She's left it very vulnerable. Meets a guy by playing an online game, kind of like World of Warcraft or something. They meet up, and turns out he's hot. It kind of confused me why Yamada even fell in love with Akane in the first place, but I did think about it just to see if I could put my finger on it. And it does make sense, I think. Because I think Akane was one of the only girls that he'd met who didn't put him on a pedestal and just treated him like a normal guy, you know, like was just real and was goofy and kind of clumsy, and he just kind of like fell for that goofiness that was a part of her, and how genuine she is. I think that was the answer I landed on. Hopefully I'm right. I don't fucking know, but yeah, this one's okay. It's just like very slow build, you know. It's like no one episode is really contributing too much to anything. It's just kind of building overall, and they're just kind of, like I said, very slow build. They're just hanging out, doing whatever, being pals, playing games. I can definitely see it being a comfort show for a lot of people, although most of those people have probably never played World of Warcraft. So take that however you want to, but yeah, no, this one was good. I even like most of the side characters. I think the only one that I felt like didn't really do anything, who I felt like should have, was Momo. I feel like she was kind of useless, but all the other characters I felt like were at least fun. There are plenty of rom-coms out there that feel unrealistic just watching them, you know, like there's so much coincidence or whatever, what have you, that just makes it like, oh, this would never fucking happen. This one actually feels very mundane, down to earth, which is a good thing. I think it works for this show. So good stuff. You know, it's a lot of Akane getting drunk, and you know, they're just hanging out at diners playing games. It's just it's very, very, you know, what's a word, boring, but in a good way, you know. That probably didn't make sense. All right, let's talk about Mashle. Yeah, let's get fucking swole, boys. My voice, I can't flex my arm, but if I could, it still probably wouldn't be impressive. Mashle is great. It's great. If any of you have seen any of the previous season of Roundups, you probably would know that I fucking got way into this show right off the bat. It's the exact kind of show I like on a personal level. Like, it's goofy in all the right ways. It's very like dry, silly humor that comes at like the expense of the other characters in the show. It's great. It's just so much fun. I think Mash is an awesome lead. I genuinely think like his like kind of nonchalantness, and is that a word? Who cares? His nonchalantness, and also just his steadfast determination to like protect his friends and what's important to him. It's simple, but at the same time, just the way he carries himself in fights and just all the time, it makes you want to root for him, you know, because he's like in this situation where he can't use magic, but he's in a magic school. So he's already the underdog, theoretically, you know, just like on paper, he's the underdog. But then he just like does this crazy shit all the time. That's just so much fun and like completely subverts your expectations and is funny, but still, like, there's some level of logic to it. It sort of makes sense a little bit, but like everybody around him is like, what the hell, this shouldn't be possible. It's great. It's so much, it's just the right, like, if you're looking for an action show that really lays in with the goofiness and you're like okay with that, Mashle is the way to go. It's not only are there great fight scenes, I think, like the fight scenes are just solid. It's just so much fun. People say the easiest way to get to know someone is to fight them. And that is definitely true in Mashle. Actually, a lot of the main characters Mashle quarrels with first, namely Lance and I guess Dot, sort of. But, you know, like, they're kind of at odds at first. But it's like, the setup is done nice and quick. It makes you jump right into it. You know, it doesn't waste any time with that. And again, like I said with Gabi, like, MASH is, I think it's easy to get on board with him because, like, literally all the guy wants is to, like, have a happy life with the guy who adopted him, and live alongside his friends happily. Like, maybe that's cheesy, but at the same time, it's like, fuck yeah. Go MASH, like, you deserve it, bro. It's great. I just, it's all around really fun. It's something you could, like, really just enjoy yourself with. Like, it's not something you have to, like, super pay attention to. I'm out of focus. Yeah, it's something you could just enjoy yourself with. Like, you don't have to get super into the story. It doesn't need you to like divert all of your attention to it. It's just really fun, you know? Like, it's very simple story, but it's the way they go about executing it and the way the characters all interact with each other and play their own individual parts. It's great. It is the sum of its parts. It's fantastic. It's a really, really fun show. This is easily one of my favorites of the whole season. So much fun. Definitely watch it if you're into this kind of thing. It's so much fun. Okay, let's talk about Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. I thought this was okay. It's fine, you know, like, it's acceptable. It was goofy. It was exactly what you would expect. It's Konosuba, right? It's the exact sort of goofiness we all know Konosuba for. I think actually Megumin's my least favorite of all of the Konosuba characters. At least her bit, like her only being able to use explosion magic, and like, I think her bit out of all of the bits, you know, out of like Aqua being a dumbass and Darkness being a weird pervert, I actually think Megumin's my least favorite out of all of them. Maybe only by a little bit, because I really like Aqua being a dumbass, but the other two I could take or leave. But I mean, I think this does a fairly decent job of giving us a good look into like how Megumin ended up the way she is, and how she ended up with Kazuma and all them. The time leading up to that. So I think it was fun. I liked seeing the Crimson Magic Girls village, and like the school they attended and all the trouble they'd get into with all these wacky characters. There wasn't really like an overarching narrative, I don't think. It was just sort of like following them as they did that. Like, really the only overarching narrative was with the demon guy who they defeated in the last episode, which was cool. Like, they were going after Megumin's cat for a while. You know, it was just fun. It was just goofy. It adds to the world of Konosuba, and seeing Megumin and Yunyun go about their shenanigans together, it's fun and charming. If you like Konosuba, you'll probably like this one too. I mean, it is Konosuba, right? It's just a spin-off, but you know, by the same author, so like obviously he gets the humor right. Okay, The Dangers in My Heart. I actually expected to hate this one, but surprisingly enough, I thought it was acceptable. I've seen a lot of rom-coms, and as we know, I mean, I'm sure I'm well over 100 different shows that I've covered on the seasonal roundups at this point. I really was not expecting to get on board with the main character. I especially from the first few episodes, he irritated the hell out of me. Kyotaro. He irritated the hell out of me, but as it went on, and Yamada was just super kind to him all the time. Anna, I guess I'll call her Anna because we already had a Yamada early on. As Anna was just super kind to him and like was her own goofy, charming self, and you saw their interactions too, like Anna's interactions with Kyotaro. You're just kind of like, you know what? go on, you two. You know, like, you guys deserve it. Like, you do actually, it actually makes you want to root for Ichikawa, for Kyotaro. Like, surprising. It really caught me off guard. Like, I expected to hate the guy. It's fairly good. Again, very slow, kind of boring for the most part, but if you do stick with it, I think it pays off. And like, as you just see them interact with their school and each other more, you just get more and more on board with it. And I think that's all you can really ask of a rom-com, because they're kind of boring by nature. But I thought this one was at least a little more on the boring end of the spectrum. But overall, I think it was all right. I was surprised to want to root for them, to be happy and all that. But, you know, like, that's I was really expecting this just to be nothing, but it actually, there is some substance to it. It's kind of weird that they go with the bit of, like, Ichikawa is like this guy who always thinks weird thoughts, and like, it kind of transformed from I want to kill Yamada to, oh no, I'm in love with her. Like, there is something to be said about him being kind of ostracized from pretty much everyone in school, you know, during his like middle school or whatever, because, or are they in middle school? I don't remember. But like, there's something to be said about him being the weird kid, right? And he's ostracized from pretty much everyone. Nobody wants to spend time with him because he's just fucking weird. And he'd kind of accepted that fate. And but then when someone showed him genuine kindness and wanted to spend time with him, he just kind of took it the wrong way and was like, oh, is she making fun of me? Or whatever. And then as they slowly grow closer to, get closer, it's like, oh, he kind of realizes, hey, school can be fun if you have people that, you know, are actually your friends, I guess, you know. That is fine. Like, cool. Good for you, buddy. Like, it's not something we have never seen before, but at the same time, I think it's executed pretty well. You know, you'd have to suspend your disbelief. Like, does someone as kind and as patient as Anna really exist, who would deal with Kyotaro's shit for that long? Probably not, but, you know, it is cute, and Anna's just very genuine, and it really helps move the show forward. So, alright, the reason why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's Mansion, again, this one might be a little too shoujo for me. This has happened a couple times before where I'm like, okay, am I out of my element here? Yes, the answer is yes, I am out of my element. But I didn't hate this one. This one's another. I definitely liked it better than like some of the other stuff we're gonna cover, and like Dangers in My Heart. I liked this one better. It made more sense to me. Like, I like the kind of old fantasy stuff. Maybe I'm just a sucker for isekais. That's also possible. But like, you know, I thought it was very solid. Like, overall, enjoyable. Raeliana, especially, I think she's a great lead. The way she approaches everything very cautiously and is like, how can I alter the story so that I don't die and I don't get fucked over? Like, is there a way I can manipulate these situations to my benefit and, you know, find a way to be happy? And then there was even a part where she was like inwardly apologizing to Raeliana's parents because she had been reincarnated into Raeliana's body. She's a very understandable character. Her, like, gradually growing closer with Noah as she spends more time with him and realizes that he's not just a weird manipulative bastard, like, makes sense. You know, that Raeliana and Noah falling for each other made more sense to me than Yamada and Akane falling for each other, because they hadn't like fully accepted it by the end, because they were still dealing with so much crap from like outside. They were still like, Raeliana was wondering what happened to Beatrice, the main character from the novels or whatever. They were dealing with that crazy red-haired bitch, whatever else that they did. I don't know, it's kind of slipping my mind, drawing a blank, but I did enjoy it. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this one. It's definitely a little out of my element. So if you're more of a shoujo person, you'll probably really like this one. This one's a big name in the world of shoujo, as far as I understand. So yeah, I imagine that if you are into this, then you are happy with the adaptation, because I thought it was solid. No, hell yeah. Okay, I got a cheat skill in Otherworld and became overpowered or whatever. I became Unrivaled in the real world too. Yes. I'm a fucking genius. If you don't know anything about this one, I'm gonna paint a picture for you. Not really, but with my words. Imagine an isekai where everything that can possibly go good and go right for the protagonist does. Done. That's what this show is. Like, genuinely. First of all, typically in isekai, you don't get to go back to the world you came from. Yuya does. He turns from ugly to super hot. He meets a bunch of pretty girls who all totally have a crush on him. He learns a bunch of magic, which he can even use in the real world. He meets a fucking princess and then an assassin girl who both end up falling for him because he's saved them or whatever. He's still going to this awesome school because Kaori asked him to, and he was like, but are you sure you want me? And he was like, yeah, we want you. All that nonsense. Everything is, it's like that Lego song. Everything is awesome because it is. Like, even when threats appear and, you know, Yuya's siblings show up and they're like, we're gonna beat the shit out of you with this biker gang we hired, he's like, fuck you, and does like a triple cartwheel backflip and like kicks him in the head, and he's like, alright, I'm done. But yeah, like, he meets this model girl, he gets hired for modeling at the fucking mall on the spot. Like, everything is cool, you know, like, he's maybe gonna marry the princess. It's just, there is something, like a lingering something or other with, in terms of the weird godlike creatures from the isekai, but other than that, it's just like no threats at all, and it's just everything going swimmingly. You know, everything is going super fucking awesome. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those where it's like, if you like the pretty girls, then like you'll probably be into this one. But there's not really any value to the overarching narrative. It just sort of is all there, you know? Like, it's just a show where Yuya does a bunch of cool shit because he went to an isekai, you know? He's enjoying his adolescence. He's enjoying a fulfilling adolescence while simultaneously enjoying a fulfilling isekai experience. It's just like, let's all be jealous of him, you know? How dare you attract like 7 different women, even though you're hot. Okay, my home hero. Jesus Christ. What do I even say? This one just made me uncomfortable. I gotta tell you, this whole show made me uncomfortable. I don't know why I watched it to the end. There is something to be said about, you know, the getting involved with Yakuza, I guess, but it's just, so if you don't know, this show is what, like, basically a dad who has kind of a rebellious college-age daughter and a nice wife, a really nice wife, just accidentally ends up killing a guy. His daughter's boyfriend, who was leading her on. It was just, you know, he just wanted some puss, so the dad ended up killing him by accident, maybe. But since he was involved with the Yakuza start tailing him to try to find out who killed the boyfriend who was in the Yakuza. And he gets put under surveillance like 24/7. So he enlists the help of his wife, who's like, oh, you killed a man? Oh, it was an accident? Alright, so where do we hide the body? You know, like, the wife is very nice, but he enlists his wife's help to essentially convince the Yakuza that he didn't commit the murder and blame it on someone else. And that's the whole show. It's so weird. Like, none of the characters, I feel like, have any humanity. Because, like, the main character the dad thinks about is like, all right, well, how do I get them to stop suspecting me? What's the optimal way to keep them from suspecting me? He's just having inner monologues constantly. And the daughter is just this fucking pretentious bitch. Like, she like kind of turns nice by the end, but like for the most part she just does nothing. The wife is just not even questioning anything. She just does whatever the husband says. It's wild. It's just weird. It made me uncomfortable, and like, I don't know. I didn't really like it. I gotta tell you. Even the visuals felt very like stiff, and they go into like a lot of detail about like what's the optimal way to like hide a body, you know, given in this scenario, and like what happens to deteriorating humans after their heart stops beating and they start decaying and all that shit. And like, it's weird, you know? It's weird. I didn't like it. I don't know why. No, whatever. Next. Alright, Galaxy Next Door. This is so fucking boring, dude. Like, there is a lot of cute things about it. I think the romance is done fairly well. I think it's acceptable, and I like that, like, the premise of, like, this guy who draws manga to help provide for his little brother and sister. That's cute. Like, that's a cool idea, but it's just so boring. And it's so weird because, like, it's kind of like a Tonikawa situation, which we'll get to that. But he kind of ends up being, like, touching something or other part of her, like her ass or whatever. And she's like, oh, now we have to get married because they made a formal contract and she's, like, an alien. And then it's like, oh, no, how do we get rid of it? Because, like, for one episode, they were both like, oh, if we get more than 12 feet apart, I start getting a pain in my heart. That's not my heart. My heart. I can't deal with it. And then, like, 2 episodes later, that shit is gone. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, it's weird. And then, like, the mom, like, Goshiki's mom shows up, and she's just like, I don't approve of this. And they're both like, well, who gives a fuck what you think? And she's like, well, fine. And then they just leave. Because she's a tsundere, ultimate tsundere, and, like, just wants her daughter to be happy, and, you know, doesn't believe that the main character is a good guy for real, but they know better, and they sometimes draw it's just so nothing. It's just a big nothing sandwich. It's like you got 2 buns, like maybe a slice of cheese, and, like, some lettuce, some shredded lettuce. That's what the show is. You know, there's not even any. It's not a burger. It's not chicken patties. Nothing. I do think it was kind of cute sometimes, but most of the time it's fucking boring. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I watched this one on 4 times speed. Every episode took 5 minutes. I still barely got through it. Jesus. Okay, skipping Loafer. I like this one. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I thought it was cute. This one's very much in the same vein as, like, oh my god, what was it? The Heroines Run the Show from last spring. Sort of. Mostly in the sense that, like, girl from the sticks moves to the city, and, like, they enjoy a school life. Like, the main character makes some friends who are girls, some friends who are guys, and enjoy school life, and there's, like, implied shipping, implied feelings, romantic feelings that never really get realized. And that's really all there is to it. Like, Mutsumi? Fuck. Mutsumi is Yozakura family. Mitsumi is this girl. She's fun. I think she's great, and I like how she is able to bring together this fucking amalgamate group of girls, like with the gal and the one girl who likes Shima, and then the weird nerd girl. I like that. I think it's cute, and I think the development of Mitsumi and Sosuke, oh boy, whatever, the blonde-haired boy, a pretty boy, is fine. I like that she's kind of, because she's so different, again, because she doesn't really put him on a pedestal from the get-go, he is kind of drawn to her. So I like that. But yeah, there's really not much more to it than, like, living a fulfilling school life, and, like, you know, they have a sleepover, and, like, they do the school festival and put on a play, and there's something to Shima's acting career, which is explored a little bit, because he, like, accidentally caused some damage to some girl's reputation, and she's mad about it, so she becomes, like, a tsundere, and is like, well, you can't have fun with anyone other than me, and then he has fun with someone other than her, and she's like, fuck! If it wasn't clear, I didn't really get it. But anyway, whatever. I thought it was cute. Moving on. I totally forgot to list on my list of anime to cover, the legendary hero is dead. For what this one was, I didn't think it was that bad. For what it was trying to be, I don't think it was that bad at all. The humor is alright, you know, it's kind of funny here and there. Like, it's very much the anime type of, like, pervy, over-the-top humor, for the most part. And the story it's something, you know, like, it's not nothing, I guess. You know, it's like kind of like hanging by a thread above the bottom of the barrel of, like, passable stories, you know? Like, I don't know, I usually find the over-the-top anime style pervy humor kind of funny, but this one just kind of didn't really hit right with me. I don't know. Something about, like, the weirdness of it all I guess. I don't even know what you'd call it, but like, I mean, the development of is it Toka, the main character, Toka, like him going from like being some schmuck who like accidentally killed the hero in a pitfall trap to like a, you know, a fairly worthwhile stand-in for the legendary hero from the beginning to end, and you know, his, you know, Yuna becoming a little less of a tsundere as he proves himself. Like, it is fairly good stuff, and there are some like funny side characters as well. Like, fucking, I like the Yuna's little sister. I think she's funny. The one guy, was it Kyle? Like, he's kind of funny, even though he's a villain at first. Yeah, like the whole Yuna almost turning into a demon or whatever, that whole plot line at the very end, that was a bit odd. And like all the things leading up to that, like I was fine with it being used as a scapegoat to be like, wow, so that's, you know, they explored Yuna and Toka's past a bit, where I was like, oh, I thought, she was like, oh, I thought you left me. I thought you ditched me on that day, but he was like, no, I didn't. I tried to save you. Or I don't know what it was. But either way, I don't think it was that bad. I think, like, again, I think I might be over the age limit of the target audience for this one. Like, I think I would have to be a few years younger. And if I was, I would be like, oh, this is fucking great. You know, like, this is hilarious. Because I think the main selling point is the comedic aspect of it. And it just, like, adds the story on top of that. And the, you know, passable character development. And you know, like, I think the humor, like, of the necromancy being like, oh no, I'm running out of mana, I look like a dead person, because he is dead, and then using Toka's spirit and all that. Like, I don't know. It's a bit odd. It's very oddballish. Even amongst the anime is already oddball. Like, all of anime is kind of oddball shit. This one's even oddball among those. I mean, I do think there's something to be said about, like, the premise of it all. It's where it's like, whoops, I've killed a man. He was really important, and the world needs him. Oh, shit. Now I gotta be the important guy, but I'm just a guy who likes thighs or whatever. You know, like, it's an alright premise, but it just kind of is whatever. Like, you know, it's like going to it'd be like going to, like, Chick-fil-A or something, you know? Like, if you go to Chick-fil-A, you're there to eat chicken, but then you could also get a milkshake and some waffle fries and maybe like a, you know, maybe like a salad, and you'd be like, oh, this is good stuff, but it's like, you really gotta use, like, the chicken. That's what the comedy, like, the comedy's the chicken, right? Like, you're there, like, you know, you're there for the comedic aspect, and then again, it gives you an okay story and decent, like, passable characters. It's like, oh, cool, you didn't have to do that, but thank you. Yeah, this one's alright. Okay, the Cafe Terrace and its goddesses. Hoo boy, if you guys saw my fucking Kodansha manga tier list, you know I am a huge sucker for this show. I really liked it. I thought the anime was great. Actually, the voice cast is perfect. Cafe Terrace is like getting a free upgrade from like you ordered a chicken sandwich, like you ordered a McChicken, but you got upgraded for free to like the chicken deluxe McChicken whatever. You know, like you got a free upgrade. You got a bunch of stuff you didn't ask for. Like, oh my god, you didn't need to do that, but you did anyway. Like, I'm so happy. Like, you didn't have to do that, but I feel so warm inside now that you have. I feel like a burning in my heart. I feel like I might have an erection. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, Cafe Terrace could have easily gotten by on its 5 super attractive women, and they're showing their tits sometimes, and then just kind of like maybe running a cafe sometimes. But like, they actually went deep into like the lore behind Hayato's him and his grandma's relationship, and how his grandma played into like helping raise the 5 girls, and even the 5 girls in their own backstory, like Akane's mom and her really rigid family, Riho's childhood acting career, Shihaguku's time as like when they met her as a child, Oka and her twin sister, Ami was there. Like, they didn't have to do all that, but they did anyway, and I think it really paid off. Like, I think the anime handled it wonderfully. It's so much fun. Like, it's definitely in the category of trash harem, which, of course, I kind of like. But, again, they didn't have to do the backstory stuff. They didn't have to do that. But, like, it makes the characters so much more relatable, I feel like. They just make them feel much more human and less just like a pair of tits. You know what I mean? Like, all the girls are so much fun. Well, I mean, you know, it's more like they're so much fun when they're all together, right? Like, with Hayato adding to the group, it just meshes flawlessly. It's wonderful. It's just so much fun to watch. I love it. I think it's great. Even another thing I like about Cafe Terrace is the sense of humor. I think it's actually really funny sometimes. Like, the things where when Ami's like, Commander, we've received a report of domestic violence at table 13. He's like, Private, kick him in the nuts. You know, that kind of thing. Like it's goofy. Like, and even like, you know, when Ami's like on the back of a turtle or whatever, like, yeah, Ami's really funny. But even just overall, just the sense of goofiness and humor is solid. Like, it definitely adds to the experience as well. Like, it's just funny. Like, the one joke where Oka farts, like, but it was actually Ami splashing in the water. Like, that's that's good shit. All right, that's funny. I'm a huge sucker for Cafe Terrace. I haven't been this invested in a group of 5 girls since, I don't know, like the quintuplets. I haven't been this invested in a group of 5 girls since 2 seasons ago. I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times. Hayato is an incredible main character. I fucking love that man. Again, he really helps make this really enjoyable and pushes the story along, or at least like the backstories. Like, he really helps, like, his just very blunt, straightforward type of nature really helps him get to know the girls better, and it makes them more drawn to him because he just doesn't take crap from anybody and is constantly helping them and is worrying about them. And Hayato is just great. He's fucking awesome. He's easily one of the best rom-com protagonists, in my opinion. Like, just the way he pushes the story, or whatever little story there is of Cafe Terrace forward. You know, like when he confronts Akane's mom is a great example. He just straight up tells Akane, he doesn't say anything to her mom, but he's just like, are you really gonna let her do this? Is this really what you want? And of course he knows that it's not what she wants, but like, she just needed that courage. She's never stood up to her mom, but now with Hayato there, she can, because they talked about it previously. Like, she's obviously upset that she can't, that her mom is going to come back for her and make her go back home. But Hayato's like, you don't have to fucking do that. Don't listen to your mom. You're a grown-ass woman, you know? Like, so it's great. I fucking love Cafe Terrace, like, period. I think it's great. All right, Dead Mount Death Play. I wanted to like this one more. I think we're going to have to wait for part 2 for me to really, like, understand what's going on, because I'm kind of like at a loss right now. I did think it was fun, and I like the premise, and even like the interactions between all the characters is goofy and fun, and I kind of like, you know, a lot of what they did was at least enjoyable, and like kind of showed off what I'm just gonna call him Polka, what Polka was able to do, right, as the reincarnated skeleton lord or whatever. So I do think it was cool. There's a lot of interesting mystery elements to this. I like a lot of, you know, there's plenty of different parties who are contributing to all the different, to the events of the story. And, you know, there's like the police, and especially those like detective guys. There's like Lemmings or whatever the fuck, that guy with the cards who was very wacky and kind of goofy. He made me laugh. Plus Polka going fucking wacko mode in the last episode. Again, I need more. Like, it doesn't feel all connected just yet, if that makes sense. So I'm going to wait on that. But we are getting part 2 in the fall, so I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I definitely feel like there's enough there to get someone excited about it. Even me, who like kind of half paid attention, you know? Because of like the goofiness and a lot of the fight scenes being pretty cool, it actually does feel like an actual shonen anime about like a reincarnated skeleton lord with necromancy powers living in modern day Tokyo. And even I think, what's her name, Misaki, her transition from psychopath murderer to goofy dumbass was a bit weird, but yeah, I'm willing to let it slide because she's funny. You know, there's definitely something that's worth questioning, but overall I thought it was fine. Like there's decent character writing here. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas for characters as well, and like how they play into the story, and like there's even that bar full of like bunny girls who are involved with that same organization that Polka's allied with at this point, I guess. But they're all going around serving tea, like, hey, I want to touch my tits, but like secretly they're like huge like trained swordswomen or whatever, like, you know. Or like want another beer. Maybe that's a better example. But like, you know. Alright, let's talk a bit about My One-Hit Kill Sister. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But I didn't hate this. Should move it a little farther to the side. This one's alright. Definitely enjoyable. Definitely not a lot of substance here though. I don't really have much to say here. I do think it was fun. I like pretty much the whole cast of side characters. I think they're goofy and they add to the whole dynamic of everything, and you know, seeing Maya and Komaria face off. I guess we'll go with that. Seeing Maya and Komaria face off a bunch, you know, it's goofy, and you know, Asahi and like how he tries to like hide the fact that like he's not actually that strong, but Maya's fucking incredible, amazing, like. It's goofy, fun isekai. You know, there's a certain degree of weirdness to it where it's like, oh, well, the Maya's a bit weird for just being his sister. But, you know, the whole cast help add to that and really, you know, it makes it something enjoyable for sure. And, like, even seeing how Asahi's grown from the first episode to the last episode where he actually makes a pretty big difference in town-wide conflict with a massive fucking slime. It's cool. I like it. So it's definitely fun, enjoyable, goofy in the right spots, and fun isekai. So I really don't have much to say other than that. It was good. Alright, let's talk about magical destroyers. Wow, what the fuck? From the get-go, I really thought it was really goofy and fun. Like, it's another step in goofiness up from the last one, My One Hit Kill Sister. It's another step up in weirdness and goofiness, because it's one of those shows that plays off the fact that otakus are fucking weird fellas, or women also. I really don't know what to tell you about Magical Destroyers. Like, it's wild. Like, I honestly, like, the final conflict of it, like, kind of is so fresh in my memory that I can barely even tell you what happened before that. But again, otakus like some weird shit. I guess I'm included in that. I'm included in saying otakus. I feel like that should be established lore. But yeah, so we like some weird shit, all right? And we think weird shit is funny, and this is one of those things where it's like, all right, taking full advantage of the fact that we're fucking weirdos, all right, fine. But like, it kind of pays off. Just seeing how Otaku Hero and the three magical girls, you know, how they like kind of play off each other in regular conversations, and then also seeing the magical girls go in fucking wacko mode in these weirdly bizarre situations, it's fun. And the story culminates in a fucking wild way. Like, turns out some guy had like created a virus and like infected everyone to hate otakus and shit. But like, otakus have such a rebellious spirit, they want to like what they want to like, and they stand in defiance of that. But Otaku Hero ends up, spoilers, Otaku Hero ends up actually dead at the end. But then there's like, he's the second coming of Jesus, but like, it's actually not Otaku Hero, but it's a different guy. But he's like, I'm Otaku Hero the second, junior, you know, like, it's wacky shit. He like, Otaku Hero tries to change the script that the, you know, everything was predetermined, but he tries to like change it and like something different happens. But the three magical girls come out okay, that's cool. But it's like, it's very wacky. And you definitely have to have a very oddball sort of sense of humor to enjoy it, which I guess I have. But it is fun. I do think it was enjoyable. The three magical girls especially, I think, were really fun characters. Not super deep by any means. I think Anarchy was probably the closest to that, but even then, like, I don't think there are any particularly worthwhile characters here, but I do think it's fun. And I do think it's funny. So, take that however you want to. Okay, Summoned to Another World for the second time. This one's not bad at all. Like, legitimately. When I say not, it's actually fairly solid. Like, if you're looking for a 12-episode isekai that completely rounds itself out in a complete experience, this is that. It's very by the books, but at the same time, there are interesting elements added to character interactions and even the story overall, with this being Setsu's second time in the isekai, right? So I quite like that about it. It's cool seeing him reunite with characters that we've never met as the viewer. It kind of makes for an interesting dynamic and makes you like skip the part where they are unfriendly towards him or whatever. So I like that about it. And there's even the interesting like secondary plot of the brunette girl whose name I forget. She's particularly gifted at magic compared to the rest of the other students who were summoned to the other world, to the isekai, and she's like working with Setsu's former party to like become strong so that she can stand by his side. It's not I mean it's fucking, it's a played out trope, but at the same time, like, I thought it was fairly decently executed. And I like seeing Setsu and the Sea Dragon Girl going around and goofing off. And, like, there's even, like, how Setsu and the Sea Dragon Girl kind of get involved with some wacky shit. Like, there's a lot of, like, 1 or 2 episode plot points that get resolved in that time. And, like, there was the cat girl who was sick, and, like, the sister who was helping out. But then there was also another dog girl who turned out to be evil. Like, that wasn't bad. There was the one girl who like needed to make a delivery or something and like needed to open a shop. I forget what the delivery was, but it was like kind of important, but not really. This one's not bad. And like even the villain, I think, is actually an interesting take and felt relatively unique for an isekai. Like it was the guy who was originally summoned with Setsu on his first go round, and he was like, Setsu obviously took the lead and was like, I'm the cool one, you can follow in my shadow, pussy. But he was like, oh, you're so cool, we'll be together forever, Setsu. And Setsu was like, yeah, sure, kid. But then that didn't happen, and Setsu went back to his old world, and he got mad, and even though they had just ended the war between humans and demons and all that, he started another one. He was like, why did you do this? Toka? I forget his name. Toma, that's the one. Toma. He's like, why'd you do that? And he's just like, oh, well, I'll get you for this. And then Setsu wins and everything's great. You know, it's a very self-contained experience. It starts and it ends. So I said that a bunch in the last roundup. I say it again here. I like that about seasonal anime. It starts and they finish. So good stuff. This one's not bad at all. Okay, KamiKatsu. This one's a legitimate what the fuck, right? Like, this one's just like, wow, what the hell am I even watching? I do think there are some good elements about it, for sure. Like, there are some interesting points to, like, the world building and the characters and the way the story progresses. There's definitely some substance to it. It's just very strange. It is sort of like, you know, you go to a bar with your friends, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna drink too much. You know, I'm not gonna drink too much tonight. I'm gonna go a little easy. And then before you know it, you've had like 6 beers. And you're like, whoa, okay, it's time to calm down. I need some water and like maybe a giant bacon cheeseburger or something. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, okay, this you know, maybe this is gonna be weird, and then like kind of turns out maybe it is a little weird, but then it gets really weird, and it's like, okay, hold on. There is some charm to the weirdness about it. I think the secondary man, like the goofy, really fucking hilarious guy, he's funny. I don't forget his name. Roy? I don't know, but like, he's funny, and the way that like the main character approaches a bunch of different situations and tries to manipulate them to his benefit with the help of the goddess, the lolly goddess lady is kind of funny sometimes. And I appreciate that, like, the main goal of all of it is, like, let's try to live our full lives instead of, like, living in this fucking super oppressive society that, like, can randomly choose when someone dies, which fucking sucks. And, like, trying to expose the fake gods of the world, and, like, there's that weird thing where it's like the last emperor created the machines or whatever they're called. It's weird. And then it goes into the part where they're, like, in the sex dungeon with the sex cult, and it's like, right, cool. And I think they're using it to get Mitama followers or whatever. But, like, I don't know. I just kind of ended up being like, I don't know. It was just weird. Like, infiltrating a sex cult I spit everywhere. Infiltrating a sex cult as an idea, like, that's fine. You know, do that all day long. I don't give a fuck. But, like, and I even liked some parts where it's, the one lady got involved. It's like, oh, but actually, I want to overthrow my goddess too. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, I'll help you. And they go kind of wacko mode sometimes. But, like, it just didn't really feel like there was a real goal for it, because I don't even think it actually ended up paying off. Like, except for the fact that they learned... Okay, well, that one thing where it was like the one girl that helped them was actually the daughter of the goddess's friend, and she's like, I want... And the girl's friend, like the mom, who was killed or something, but who was the goddess's friend, the mom was originally like, I want to procreate, like, I want a penis in me, but society won't let me. And then it turns out that girl was actually the daughter after she had fled the society and actually, got knocked up and, like, had a daughter, and it's like, that's the daughter of the goddess, but they didn't know that. It's like, I don't know. There's some connecting threads here, right? It's like, okay, this is still kind of weird, though. It's fine, though. I actually kind of liked that story bit where it was like, oh, man, you're the daughter of my best friend, the only girl I'd ever met who wanted to have sex. Like, I don't know. I actually thought that was all right, but, like, other than that, like, whatever. Anyway. Whoa, man. The Aristocrat's Otherworldly Adventure. If you've seen any isekai of, like, a child getting reincarnated, you've seen all of this one. It is so by the books. Like, granted, I'm not the target audience for this one. Let's get that out there. I don't think I'm the target audience for this one. Fucking blow your mind, I know. But the running joke is like, oh, Kain, you overdid it. You used too much magic when you shouldn't have. Why'd you do that? Are you stupid? And it's like, that would have been funny if I was, like, 12, but I'm not, so I don't know. But yeah, it's just like, guy gets reincarnated, gets super overpowered, meets a bunch of girls who all like him, becomes an aristocrat, baron and then viscount, and then, blows up a forest, beats up some monsters, becomes an adventurer, meets more girls who are into him, eventually has a training arc, and then defeats the angry final boss. Also, like, summons the demon lord as his servant. That, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. And this is so by the books. I mean, it's fine. Like, it wasn't, like, boring, but it was, like, whatever. Nothing really special about it. Alright, Insomniacs After School. You want to talk about boring? Yeah, this one was really boring, but, again, sort of like Dangers in Your Heart, I do think there's some charm to it. If this is your speed, if this is the speed you go at, you're gonna like this one. Again, I feel like the characters in this one are very human feeling, and that's something that anime can sometimes find it hard to nail, I feel like. But I 100% feel like the characters, pretty much all the characters, but, obviously our two Insomniacs, they feel very human, and I like that about this one. They kind of, like, share in their dilemma of, like, not being able to fall asleep, figure out ways to, get around that problem, and eventually fall for each other. I like that. I think, honestly, the weakest part of it is, like, the weird, like, when they finally start getting into, like, the astronomy club, and they, like, learn the details of, like, exposure in the like, actual, like, camera technicalities, and they're like, well, they try to use that as an excuse to, like, hang out. they get all their pals together and hang out when they don't really need to do that, I don't think. He's like, oh man, but if we don't have the meteor shower gazing party, then when will we ever get to hang out? Oh, it's raining, everything is shit, everything's gone to shit, everything's gonna fail. I don't know. But it's really, really slow, this one. I do think the development of the romance is alright. I think they're doing fine with that. So, fair enough, but yeah, it's definitely got to be something that's your speed, which is really, really slow, by the way, in case that wasn't clear. This one feels like you have insomnia. Like, watching this one feels like you have insomnia, because the time is going by, like, fucking slow as hell. Time would probably move faster if you were, like, actually watching grass grow. Anyway, but this one's alright, though. It's not bad. Heavenly Delusion. Oh, boy. Yeah, well, I say oh boy, but I really don't know what to tell you about this one. This one actually kind of is just sort of beyond me, I think. Again, I feel like I'm out of my element here. Something like My Home Hero was weird because it just was like kind of made me uncomfortable, and it was like there was still like a solid narrative throughout. This one, wow, I'm so lost because it tries to merge these two completely different plots of like these kids in a school, but it's actually like a human experimentation facility where they lock kids up and like never show them the outside world. But also this chick and the guy she's bodyguarding traveling to meet someone, the doctor maybe, who like the girl has a past with. But like the girl was actually a guy who got the consciousness of a guy who got translated into the body of a girl he used to know. I was like, oh, so it's weird when it gets horny, but it's like, okay, cool, I support you. But like, it's also, the horniness comes out of nowhere and then also vanishes out of nowhere. So it's like, if you're gonna be horny, at least commit to it, right? Like, come on. So it just the horniness shows up out of nowhere. It comes out of weird times, and at other times it's just completely devoted to the story of like them making more progress and like getting to know the surrounding area, which is like post-apocalypse. So they're like trying to figure everything out, like, where do we go? Where am I gonna meet this person? But then it tries to also fuse that with the weird human experimentation plot. There's like a chick who like has twin babies, and like the old lady is trying to implant her consciousness into that baby. So like maybe that is like a crossover, but whatever. She's like, oh fuck, I'm getting old. Time to get a young body. And so she like, I don't know, but maybe she wasn't planning on the girl actually bearing children or whatever. I don't know. I do think visuals were overall fine in this one, but the story just left me completely baffled. I probably would have been less confused if I like walked into like an empty theater and saw like two naked guys up there doing ballerina. Like, I probably would have been less confused if I in that scenario than watching the show. Like, I genuinely had no clue what to take away from this. Like, they did actually meet the guy they were looking for, what's her face and what's his face. They actually found the guy, and then like what's his face ended up beating him up a little bit. But like the doctor guy like tried to rape the girl, what's her face. Whoo boy. Again, maybe I didn't pay enough attention. That's certainly possible. But I also just think this one was really, really weird. And I'm someone who, as you can probably tell, really values like the overarching narrative of a story. Like, I'm not like, I want to see what story they tell. I'm not here to look at titties or like look at, well, maybe a little bit, but like, I'm not here to look at the impressive visuals. You know, those are secondary. I want to see the story. And this one's story was just baffling. I'm sure if you paid attention, it was fine. Maybe. I really don't see how that would be the case, but if someone gets it, please explain it to me. Because my God, I am at a loss. Anyway, next. Alright, we're moving on to sequels. Tonikawa! Season 2, Over the Moon for You. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't care for this show. It only just recently occurred to me that a lot of what this is trying to push, like what you would take away from this show, is that this is sort of about most rom-coms will focus on like the actual courtship of like a guy and a girl falling for each other, whereas this one I think is more about maintaining a healthy relationship in our modern landscape, in our technology filled world, and like how to stay happy in a relationship that feels like you may have had it for a long time. Whatever. Even if that is the case, and like, you know, it does have its funny moments here and there where, you know, and I like some of the subplots, like the NASA's old teacher eventually, you know, finally falling in love, and that's cute. And like, even the other side characters I don't think are that bad at all. Like the girls who live at the hot springs with them, not the hot springs, the bathhouse. Fuck. Overall, I just find this one really boring, and there's not a lot to take away from it, because it's really just like them figuring out their relationship. Like, I don't know. It's just not for me, I guess. But I do think that it does have its moments, and I think there is some amount of cuteness to it and stuff that you could take away as a viewer that's worthwhile. It's just not really my thing. And the thing I think that frustrates me the most about this is like, they establish a mystery where it's like, where did Skasa come from? Like, why is she a moon person? And then they kind of address it like they never address it in season 1. She's just there, and she's like, because like there was something about her being the same like 60 years ago or whatever, and she like looked the same. But is she actually a moon rock? Is she really a rock? Is she really from the moon? What's going on here? Like, you know what I mean. Like, it established that mystery of, like, where did Skasa come from? Why did she disappear for 2 years after they first met, and then eventually come back and be like, hey, now you're old enough to get married, let's put our marriage papers in. And then they, like, never address it, and then they kind of address it at the end of this season, where it's like, here, I wanted to give you, the grandma's like, here, I wanted to give you this, and it's a rock. And it was like, oh, Charlie Brown, I got a rock. Like, whoop-de-fucking-do. But that still doesn't explain anything, you know? Like, I wanted to know more about that, and they just like, oh, going about their daily lives as husband and wife. Can I touch your hair? Sure, but do it gently. Whatever, man. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, or like a zombie rising out of its grave. In Another World with My Smartphone, Season 2 aired starting in April. Wowee. What a fucking callback. And just like the first season, it's disjointed, kind of weird, and I don't really see the point of it. But if you like pretty girls, and that's what you watch anime for, you'll probably want to watch this one. I mean, really, even the anime realizes, like, the takeaway from this is the women. Like, literally the final episode of this season, I'm about to spoil it, but whatever, even the final episode of this season is like, wow, what's his fucking name? Toya. Oh boy. Toya will eventually have 9 wives. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that super cool? Like, don't you want to just root for the guy? Isn't he so relatable? And it shows a picture, but he's already got like 7 fiancés, but like then there's like 2 more. It's like, oh, you'll eventually marry those 2 as well? Oh my gosh, that's wow. Yeah, the story, there's no consistency to it, if you could even call it a story. Like, sometimes we do kind of get more answers. Like, it was weird, like the first season left off on a weird note where he went to the Flying Garden, and that was just never really explained, you know. Like, he met the girl with the green hair, and he's like, oh, you're my master, and then that just kind of like left off there, and it was weird. There was more of that this season, which is cool. Like, kind of helped. I didn't really understand what they were supposed to do, but like, Toya's definitely in charge of them. Maybe they help with like get materials, and like some of them did research or whatever, but like there's no consistency to it. And like, if it gave me a reason to care, I sure didn't see it more than once, and which means I probably missed it. So yeah, the storytelling is just so incongruent, disjointed, and weird. I don't like, it feels like watching this show is just pointless, if that makes sense. I don't know. Like, sometimes they're building a giant robot, again, it's like, it feels like everything is going right. You know, there's no real conflict here. Like, really, the only scene, like, the only point of conflict was, like, the one girl from the other kingdom, the blonde one, who was like, I'm gonna fight you, Grandpa, and if I win, I get to marry Toya. And Toya's like, whoa, hold on, dude, I already have 6 wives. And the grandpa's like, fine, you're on, Harpy. And then they just fight, and she wins because of a but then, like, Toya helps her win. It's like, hey, oh boy. Again, things keep going right. Why are they in a like, they built, like, Transformers, and they lend them out to people. It's like, oh, you can rent my Transformer, my giant war machine, if you pay me a wife. And it's like, all right, I'll do that. Because, like, you know, some episodes he's just, like, in the library. He's like, excuse me, miss, where is volume 13 of that time I got reincarnated as a shoe, as a left shoe on an elf woman? Where can I find volume 13 of that? And then, like, the next, they're, like, piloting the Transformers, like, Toya, I want to pilot the Transformer, I love Optimus Prime. He's like, alright, get in. He's like, what the fuck is this? I don't know, man. I didn't really like this one. And then he's like, oh, but turns out all along it was a Decepticon. That didn't happen. Alrighty, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. Was it season 2 or was it part 2? I don't know, man. Everything just got more crazy this season. It's not over at the time of recording this, so I can't make a conclusive statement. But kind of like the last time I talked about this one, I'm still kind of at a loss. Because I feel like there's a little bit too many moving parts for my smooth brain to keep up with. But at the same time, I definitely recognize the growth that Sletta's been through, even Miorine's been through. And I like the plot point, the main plot point of this season of Sletta's mom, adoptive mom, trying to use Ariel to revive her dead daughter, who looks suspiciously like Sletta, but whatever. Like, and then that can only happen, like, see, this is where it confuses me. Apparently, she can only exist within the data storm, which is, like, a series of digital whatnots, and, like, it's like a network, and, like, she can only exist in there, and, like, but, like, then there's Quiet Zero, which, fuck if I know what that is. I remember Googling it, and then I forgot. Because that's how important it was. I like there's the plot point of, like, when Miorine inadvertently, like, she went to Earth, and, like, because of that a bunch of Gundams attacked or whatever, and, like, caused huge damage to Earth, and, like, oh, because of me so many people died, and she's, like, upset about that. And Soletta's like, well, you don't have to be sad, like, I don't know, we're friends, right? Like, I know you like, you know, indirectly kill some people, but, like, we're friends. Come on, Miorine. It's so weird because didn't they, like, start a, you know, they started, like, a startup company and, like, asked for investors to invest in their company, and then, like, what did they do with that? You know, like, they talk a lot about Miorine being, like, CEO, but, like, what do they even do? I should have paid more attention. I think the main thing that we're really going to take away from this one is not only that main plot point of Eri and Ariel, but also I think Sletta and Miorine's relationship and, like, how it develops over the course of these 24 episodes. Like, the ups and downs that it goes through, I think are very interesting. And I think Sletta's growth is really something to make note of as well. Like, you know, how she goes from that shy girl to, like, who can't really say things properly into, you know, someone who's willing to stand up for herself and even against her own mother to keep her from doing whatever it is she wants to do, which will be bad for some reason. Again, kind of at a loss here, but there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of scenes that are relatively inconsequential, and I feel like direct attention away from, like, the information that I actually need to retain. I don't know, maybe that's just me being stupid and smooth-brained, but I'm kind of at a loss. But again, it's Gundam, so, like, visuals look great, plenty of explosions to keep you distracted. That's got to be why I don't fucking know anything, because I look at the explosions like, whoa! Like, Gwell came back, and like there was that little mini conflict where he's like, his adoptive brother was like, "You're not my real brother. You must have, why did you change?" And he's like, "I changed because I don't like to be bad." And he's like, "Fuck you, brother." I don't know. I'm a bit out of it. But again, I think Miorine and Sleta both are very good characters. Miorine definitely feels more human this season, for sure. So I like that about it. And Sleta, I like her growth quite a bit. For a good period of time this season, Sleta was just willing to accept whatever her mother did. And Miorine was constantly trying to fight back against it, because like we know as viewers that Sleta's mom is kind of insane in the membrane. It totally makes sense based on her character, right? Because like she's so convinced that if I just listen to mom, then everything will be okay. And Miorine has to like fervently, fucking relentlessly try to convince Sleta otherwise, and even by the time she does, it's nearly too late, and Miorine has already been through hell and high water. There are a lot of interesting things here. It's just like, I would probably need to watch it all again to like really retain what happened here. And I don't know, it's too much at some points, but overall I do think it's good, so fair enough. I like the explosions, though, mostly. Oh boy! It's my favorite show of all time. It's Tokyo Mew Mew, the reboot. New. Tokyo Mew Mew New. Season 2. The story wrapped up in this season. Very cool. A lot of what I said in the last Roundup is still holding true. Again, it's very fun. I think it's fun. It's very simple, easy to follow. I don't think the characters are super spectacular by any means, but it's, again, kind of when all of them are together, there's like something really nice about it. And even a lot of them go through some individual, the main 5 go through some individual character development in like what are sort of fillers in this season, but they're actually done really well, I think, and they add to the story. I think Lettuce especially had some surprisingly good and interesting like character development throughout this season. So yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things, like, suspend your disbelief and you'll definitely enjoy it. Like, stop, if you don't look to be super impressed by it, I think people can find that this is a very casual and fun watch. But it's not for everybody. The Magical Girls, it's definitely like, it's for children, right? Like, it's for actual children. Maybe that's why I like it. But yeah, this one was really good. I actually, in between the first season of this and this season, I actually read the Tokyo Mew Mew manga, and it made me realize how spoiled we were from in this reboot, because the manga is a fucking mess. Like, it's all over the place, and this one it adds so many scenes that add to the overall narrative and make it feel like a much more complete experience. And a lot of the episodes that are filler are actually really helpful for us to help understand who these characters are, and what are their goals, what do they want to do with their lives, and what do they enjoy. And it just really helps them feel more human. And I love the main 5 girls, even Ryo and that other guy who's with him, and even the final conflict. Well, it's not super amazing. It's kind of weird, because he had the Blue Knight, and then it turns out that's Aoyama, and then it's he gets taken over by the leader, which was always him for some reason. I don't really know, but I don't really know why that's the thing. But then the blue Scourge man, what is his name? I'm drawing a blank. But he's Ichigo is just so nice and genuine and sweet and loves Aoyama so much that the leader is well, you know what? You guys have fun. I'm out of here. And he just disappears. He's Ichigo, I was glad to know you for 5 seconds. He's goodbye. anyway, can I have my boyfriend back? But yeah, the final conflict is very, you know, if you look at it from a critical point of view, it's not really like, you're not gonna get off your feet and applaud for it, but I think it was fitting for the show, and I think it worked to that, like, for, it was exactly what it should have been. Quiche, you know, it's interesting. I don't hate his character arc where he's like, he eventually falls for Ichigo and realizes that he just wants to protect her. That's something, I guess. I think it's kind of goofy that, like, the power of love at the very end is, like, what ends up decontaminating the aliens planet. But, you know, I was like, you know what? That kind of rules. No, this one, I really enjoyed season 2. It did very fun. Not, you know, I just enjoyed it. You know, like, it was like fun to watch on, like, a casual level. Like, as a fun, casual experience, I think Magical Girls are fun. Just because the concept is so ridiculous, I love it. And I think Tokyo Mew Mew being my first real exposure to Magical Girl shows, I really enjoyed it. And I hope all of the 7-year-old girls in Japan who watched also enjoyed it. Let's talk about it sometime. And finally, the 2-core and sequel Vinland Saga Season 2. Unsurprisingly, yeah, it was fucking awesome, wasn't it? It was great. Again, this one was slow. You really have to stick with it. But I love what they did with Thorfinn's character this season. It was awesome. There was surely not as much fighting as there was last season. That's certainly undeniable. But I love what they did with Thorfinn's character. I thought it was incredible. As you see him, like, grow, you know, at the start of this season, he's like so out of it. He feels like he has nothing to live for, and then slowly, like, you know, as he, like, interacts with more different people and, like, starts realizing, like, what life can be, even with what little they have, like him and Einar, like, what little they have, like, he can find reasons to live, and how fighting just takes that away, and, like, conflict will take that away, and you start to see shades of his dad in him, and it's like, oh yeah. And then that final, oh man, when he goes up to that king and he's like, I have no enemies. Ooh yeah, baby. Yeah, when he says I have no, yeah, I know that was mean, but also, fuck, man, that was awesome. And even, like, smaller moments, like when Thorfinn takes the stance of his 2 daggers, and you see that for the first time in the whole season, and he's like, Thorfinn hasn't fought at all, basically. And there's also that moment of, like, him realizing just how much evil he's brought to the world, and, like, how many people he's killed, and, like, him having to accept that burden, you know. And there's that scene of, like, him going into, like, hell or whatever it is, and Askeladd's there, and it's wild. It's not really wild, but it's like, it's really, really well done. Just the slow pacing, I think, helps, like, add to the gravitas of it all. So it's definitely not for everybody. Again, kind of like the last one, but not really like the last one. Tokyo Mew Mew and Vinland Saga, not the same thing, but it's not for everybody. But if you're willing to be patient with it and see how Thorfinn develops, it's worth it, I think. It's just, it really feels like it pays off, especially at the end, when Thorfinn is just fully against violence, just like his dad used to be. And he goes back to his home village and meets up with his mom and sister. It's great. I really like Vinland Saga. I think I actually just recommended Vinland Saga to my parents. So maybe I'll get back to you guys on how they like it. But I don't really recommend anime to my parents. And Vinland Saga, it's not like other anime. It's not, there's pretty much, I mean, I'm sure there are other anime similar, but there's just something about Vinland Saga that just really works on another level, I think. And even though it is boring, this season of Vinland Saga is very slow. But it does also feel rewarding. So I appreciate it for that. And Thorfinn's character development, especially if you look at it on the whole from the beginning of the first season to where he is now, oh, it's immaculate. It's so good. Overall, Vinland Saga is amazing, and no one is surprised by that. Well, maybe some people who dropped this season, but they shouldn't have. They're missing out. Because Thorfinn is awesome. I genuinely think Thorfinn is one of like the best main characters I've seen in quite a while, especially for an anime like this, where it's like historical fiction. Fucking rules. Just his development is so good. The way these characters, phenomenal, so good. And like even the side characters, I think, like a lot, especially like Arnade and even like Gardar and all them, and fucking the slave owners and like the guys who like. There's a really cool moment where one of the guys who was like, "Well, killing will give me honor," but then he like turns out he couldn't kill anyone. He didn't have the balls to kill anyone, and then he like comes to Thorfinn at some point and after realizing that fighting isn't, violence is not the answer. He's like, Thorfinn, I can't believe, but Thorfinn, you were right all along. We never should have gotten into this conflict. I can't believe it. Nothing will be solved with violence. That was a really cool moment. It just, a lot of the side characters help elevate the situation. You see like shades of what Thorfinn used to be, like where he always was so focused on just killing Askeladd for the sole purpose of revenge, but now how he's changed and like realizes that like all violence does is take when we can afford to be diplomatic and just work things out, man to man, but not in a fighting way. Does that make sense? It's a lot of ups and downs here, even though it's slow. It's very good. I feel like that shouldn't be a surprise, but maybe it is. Anyway, that's all for today. Next season is going to be kind of weird, I think, but who knows? I look like an old man in a recliner. Well, not totally inaccurate.